Welcome back to another episode of Grease Monkey Repairs. I apologize for my voice. It's a little coarse. I have been feeling a little under the weather lately. But in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to change a clock spring. In this particular vehicle, it's a Toyota Tacoma. But the process is really similar across all years, makes, and models. It's generally the same idea. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this one. And this will get you the idea how to do them on various makes and models. First thing you want to do is go ahead and disconnect the battery. Anytime you're messing with an airbag, it's a good idea to unhook the battery. The airbag going off in your face would be bad enough, but could you imagine removing the airbag and holding it and it goes off in your hand? I just don't even want to imagine that, so just disconnect the battery. So the first things you want to do, it's either going to be remove the trim around the steering column or remove the airbag. Those are usually the first steps you want to do. And on this one here, the first thing I did was remove the airbag. And typically, they're going to have these access covers. Like this one had one here and one here. Most makes and models have access covers, and once you pop those off, you see this little T30 Torx right here? That's what's holding the airbag in place. And if there's no cover, there might actually be a tiny little hole that you need to put like a small screwdriver in or a pick, and you can release the clip holding in the airbag. It'll be in the same locations, kind of like here going up at an angle and here going up at an angle. They're usually located right here behind the airbag. So I got the airbag undone. Sorry for all that racket. They're doing a little bit of construction. So with that undone, we can pull back the airbag, and that exposes the wires. You can actually see the clock spring in the very back. It's most of the time it's just located right behind the steering wheel. So these are the airbag clips. Pretty typical looking. They have these yellow safety locks that you actually have to pull back before you unplug the thing entirely. It's kind of like a dual stage clip. The first is releasing, and then the second is actually removing it from the airbag. Okay, and then from here, looks like we have a ground wire going to the base of the airbag, and that's going to be for the ground. You just go ahead and pull that out. That's it. Typically, your airbag, it just consists of two plugs and a ground for the horn. So once you have the airbag out of the way, this is what we're looking at. The clock spring, if you don't know what it is, all it does is it allows the connection of all your steering wheel controls, horn, airbag, all the electrical components of the wheel. It allows the connection to go through the steering column, and it allows the rotation without just, if you had a solid connection and you turn the wheel, you would break the connection, obviously. So from here, we can kind of see what's next. We need to unplug the steering wheel controls from the clock spring itself. This one here just has these two plugs here, and then this yellow wire was for the airbag. And it looks like from here we can unscrew the steering wheel. And then majority of the time it's just a spline shaft, and you can get away with just rocking the wheel back and forth gradually and gradually and gradually until it gets looser and looser, and then it'll get to the point where you can actually just pull it off. And before you do this, make sure you get it nice and centered. It'll just make it easier for you when you go to reassemble, and it'll lessen the chance of the wheel going on crooked. So I just got the wheel loose. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off. Make sure you feed the wires through, nothing gets tangled or caught. You don't break any plugs. Really, I just had to slide through the airbag wires. That's the only thing that stays attached to the clock spring. Okay, so now we're looking at the column, the trim around the column, the clock spring. Looks like all we have is two Phillips screws we need to take care of. Alright, with those out of the way, should be able to remove this trim fairly easily. You know what, let's pop this up. There we go. And I just like to try and keep it centered. I don't really like, yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we have the clock spring fully exposed. So this is the input of the wires from the steering wheel, and then it looks like the output is going to be down here. This is where the clock spring plugs into, and the wires kind of just go into the column and to the car. So depending on what your make and model, there's going to be different things attached to the clock spring itself. Sometimes the blinkers or headlights or, you know, levers could be attached to the clock spring itself, but in this one it doesn't look like it. I'm just gonna see if I can unplug the connector here. This yellow plug is gonna be for the airbag. Anytime you see yellow wire looms, yellow plugs, yellow things like that, that usually has to do with the airbag. So I'm gonna go ahead and it's only 2 plugs going to the bottom of the clock spring. So now there's nothing plugged in. Just gonna kind of, what you could also do here if you're not sure how to remove it is look at the new one. So you can get an idea of how it's actually attached. So this is the new one. And it looks like it just has clips. Look, there's one there on top. And there's 2 on the sides. One there, one there. Looks like that's all it is to it. So I'm gonna release the clips. Here's the top one. Got that one undone. There's one down here, and then one here. And with those 3 released, the clock spring should just come right out. And that's it. And what's inside of here, it's usually just a wound up ribbon of wires. And what happens is one of them actually loses connection, breaks a connection, and depending on what wire actually messes up, you lose a certain component in the steering wheel. You could lose the volume control, you can lose the horn, the airbag, things like that. But the 2 most common things that actually go out are the horn and the airbag. And you'll get the airbag light on the dash and your horn won't work. Those are the 2 most common things, but your steering wheel controls could go out. Not as common, but it can happen. So go ahead and chunk this one. And your new clock spring, they always come with like a grenade pin. That's what I call them, little grenade pins. And what this does is it just keeps it aligned. From the factory, when they make this, they keep it from over rotating, because you can over rotate these. You can possibly cause some damage even to a brand new unit. So it's a good idea to basically pull this pin out, like the last thing, keep it in there as long as you can, basically. So you know, obviously it's clicked in there. Yeah, the only thing we really got to do is install the column pieces. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I need to unplug in the airbag. Okay, there it goes. I don't know why I thought it looked different. For some reason, this particular car had this plug just hanging here. Wasn't being used, so I'm not forgetting that. It was just there. So that's that. I guess technically I could go ahead and pull the pin, because after this I just need to install the column pieces and slide the steering wheel back on. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the pin, the grenade pin as I like to call it. So now it's got rotation. Just, you know, make sure you don't rotate it and install it, because some of these actually have a built-in steering angle sensor, and if you rotate it like this, it'll be 360 degrees off, and you can have ABS and, you know, StabiliTrak type issues. So all right, I'm gonna go ahead and slip on my column pieces. The top piece, where is the top piece? You know, I'm gonna try to record this without actually taking a break or editing. It's gonna be one continuous video, and see just how far I can get. Yeah, your plastics don't have to be super tight. A lot of people over tighten plastic screws and just end up doing damage. Ready for the steering wheel. Just gotta make sure we slide the plugs through in the location they were originally in. Okay. So right now I'm just working on sliding the steering wheel back in place. Got it centered. Now there is a chance that this particular one here, it's got splines all the way around the shaft, and majority of the time there'll be a spot on the shaft where it's got one spot that makes it kind of unique, like a keyway that only makes it go on one way. But this one, you can literally put the wheel on in any degree, like any position. So there is a small chance that I'm going to have to readjust the wheel. So I'm not going to go cranking down the nut just yet. I'm not going to torque it down. I'm just going to snug it up, plug everything in, and make sure it drives nice and straight before I go ahead and torque down that steering wheel nuts, because I just want to make sure the steering wheel is actually straight as I'm going down the road. So I went ahead and drove it just to verify the steering wheel is straight, and it is. And in driving it, I actually grounded out the horn wire. So that's a good test to see the connection is actually going through the clock spring, through the column, into the car. So that's a good sign that this repair is going to fix the issue. So from here, it's time to install the airbag. Just reinstall these two clips, and make sure when you do push in these airbag connectors that you do push in the yellow tab on the back side. Because if you do not push in the yellow tab, it will not have a good connection and you'll have an airbag light. It's not really wanting to focus on that. I don't know why. Hold on. That's a little better. Yeah, this yellow back piece here, it actually clicks in when it's installed. And if that's not clicked in, then it will not have a good connection. Okay, let's install the airbag. That's enough of that. Start off with the ground for the horn. Goes on the bottom. Okay, now we can install the plugs. Wow. Alright, I've got the airbag reinstalled. I tightened down the T30 Torx bolts that are securing it on the sides on the left and right. Got the access covers back on there, and I'm going to go ahead and start it up. This particular car had an airbag light because I wasn't seeing a connection to the main airbag. So usually you don't have to clear the code for airbag. If the issue is fixed with the airbag, the light will just go off instantly. That's the light that was on. Okay, I got worried for a second. It did turn off. We're good. Quick test of the horn. Alright, we're good. Problem is fixed. We have a horn and no airbag light, so alright, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps. And see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.